Hi, everybody. It's Kimberly. I'm an eternal life student, which simply means human. At the end of the day, that really is the only title that we need. I think people are like walking books, a living library. We each have our own stories to share, and by sharing them together, we can grow stronger. Today, I have a guest with me who's going to share his story. I am going to be speaking with Gordon Crampton, who is a former Marine. He has 15 years of DoD sales experience, enabling warfighters to get everything that they need. Hi, Gordon. How are you doing?
Hey, doing well. How you doing today?
I am great. Thank you so much for joining us today. I can't wait to talk about this topic. So let's let everybody know what we're going to be talking about. Today, the topic will be comfort kills. Can you explain this a little bit for everyone to understand?
Sure, absolutely. So, as a former Marine and in the role that I'm currently in, dealing with a lot of our military across the world, one of the fundamentals, that we all acknowledge is that comfort kills. And so, what I'd like to do is just kind of break that down in terms of how it affects us, in the real world, not, outside of uniform. And so, in a nutshell, I fundamentally believe that comfort kills in terms of, people's health. And what I mean by that is our relationships, our physical health,
Yeah.
our financial health, which, I'll talk more about later.
Hmm.
In terms of success, it affects our ability to take risks, which, in turn ends up killing our dreams and capabilities to go far and contribute more. It
Definitely.
also, I mean, it also affects our knowledge, how relevant we are from day to day and as we move into the future. It can affect our dreams, our freedom, um,
Yes.
like I mentioned, our ability to achieve and, even monetary comfort.
Yeah.
And so what I wanted to talk about today are expansions on those particular topics, and then maybe share some stories on why it is that I'm so passionate about this topic,
Okay.
and hopefully be able to leave some pearls of wisdom that others can use and apply to their lives, and be able to achieve more going forward.
That's wonderful. So, all right, can you give us some examples to start out with?
Yeah, sure. So let's go back to the first topic of health.
Sure.
um, I touched on relationships.
Yes.
So one of the big things that comes to my mind is, people in terms of families, right? You
Hmm.
get into a tough spot and grandpa loans you some money. And
Right.
then, because life's tough, especially when you're young and you're trying to start out, you haven't
Right.
been well prepared for what being an adult actually is.
Yeah.
Um, you know, like, balancing a checkbook, a
All
lot of
right.
those skills are not even taught in school.
Right. Just saving money in general, right?
Yeah. So you're out there trying to struggle and get by, and you call grandpa, and grandpa loans you some money, and you're trying to get by, and you're trying to keep your head above water, and eventually it gets to a point where push comes to shove, and
Mhm.
well, grandpa will understand, I can't pay him
Yeah.
back now, and you know it, and I would like to suggest that perhaps that's a little too much comfort when it comes to the relationship
Yes.
with your grandpa.
Hmm.
If grandpa
I
loans
agree.
you money, yeah. If
Yes.
grandpa loans you money and you burn him, every Thanksgiving, he's going to be across the table looking
Giving you
at
the
you
stank eye, right?
while he's eating the turkey, somebody who's going to be there every year.
Yeah.
You're not going to get away from grandpa.
No. Very true.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of one of those stories, I actually live right across the street from my grandmother.
Oh, wow.
And the only reason that I was able to do this was because well, my credit sucked, and you get into
It's
the point where you're
life.
struggling.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so grandma actually financed this house for me,
Oh, wow.
a 30-year note. And I think she was 80 at the time, right?
Wow. Hmm.
Now, some other people in my family might have thought to themselves, oh, well, if she passes away before I pay her back, then who knows, maybe I
Right.
get the rest of the house for free.
Hmm.
Because I believe in this fundamental that comfort kills, and because
Right.
it makes a big difference to me, I made damn sure that I paid that girl back every
Good.
dime that she put
Yes.
out there while she was still with us, so
Hmm.
that she could next decide how best she wanted to spend that money the next time.
That's great.
That was
And
important.
it also it teaches you about yourself, right?
Mhm.
it's thank you to them, but it also goes back to you and your
Mhm.
beliefs as well, right?
Well, the other thing too is, if I ever got into another, spat where I'm in trouble, I'll bet you I could go back and say,
Yes,
"Hey, can you help me?" And I bet she
exactly.
would. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
So, I mean, I really try to teach my children, make sure you have a good relationship with your family because Lord knows you're going to be stuck with those people forever.
Yeah, it's true.
So,
And they're the ones that you're going to have to reach out to if you need help, right?
yep, yep.
Very true.
And to take that to a different notch, I mean, talk about friends, right?
Hmm.
I had a friend that every time I had a problem, I'm not the best of mechanics, right? So when something would break, this would be the guy that I'd call. And
Yes.
he was the best man at my wedding. And my family
Oh,
came into town from Michigan. They had this old, I don't know what the thing was. It was some kind of RV that was so old it probably shouldn't even been on the road.
ah,
And they had a problem with it. And he took care of it.
see,
Now, I mean, what it comes back to is now I could have sat on my ass and said, "Oh, he's a great guy. He took care of me. He's my friend." But
right.
instead, I made damn sure that I found ways to be valuable to him,
Hmm.
right? To make
Exactly.
that relationship valuable, not just, sit on my ass, get comfortable absorbing everything this good person is offering, but to value it and return it.
Yes. And it's not
And
even an expectation. It's just a respect, right? A
yeah,
give and a take. It's just out of respect.
yeah. But
Yeah.
I mean, I have seen, where people have friends, but they get comfortable having the friends and they
Yes.
don't take care of them.
Correct. Yeah.
You know,
No,
hey, you want
it's
to
true.
come over and visit? Nah, Magnum's going to be on at 10.
Yeah. They don't realize they take it for granted.
Yes,
And then when it's
exactly.
gone, they don't know what happened. And it's that comfort. That's what happened, right?
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Yes.
Um, I mean, there was one relationship I had where uh, I was a security guard, way
Hmm.
early in my life. You're a Marine, so hey, why not be a security guard? Get some
Yeah,
extra
why
money.
not?
And so, yeah. So one day I get this phone call from somebody I worked with, and
Hmm.
um, so they gave me a call and they said, "Hey, I've got a job for you. All you got to do is show up." I was like, "Well, what is the job?" "Oh, well, it's help desk." I don't know
Okay.
anything about help desk. What do they do? Well, people call in and they cry about their computer and you help them solve their problems.
Right.
I don't know anything about that. Like, it's okay. Just show up. We'll train you. I don't have a resume. Here's one right here. Just show it
Oh,
to
they
them.
already.
So, so yeah, I walk in and this one kid, and I say kid, but he was older
Yeah.
than me.
Hmm.
But he comes in, he's got the long hair. He looks like the
Hmm.
surfer boy straight out of like a California TV show. And
Right.
he even does the head bob and stuff,
Oh yeah, yeah.
And he's talking to me. He's like, "Hey, what kind of experience you have?" And I tell him, "Oh, I did this, I did that," which were very small things in my mind. And
Right.
he's like, "Okay, okay. And this is your resume?" I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, well, okay. So when can you start?" And it's going to be a couple days. I got to figure out how to get you on the payroll.
Just like that, you see? You
Yeah.
know? And that's it. It's who you know, the relationship you build, the ones you take
Mhm.
care of,
Ye-
family,
Yep.
friend, professional work, all of it.
Hmm. And
D- Definitely.
yep. And it turns out that the reason that happened was there was a project that was
Hmm.
going on in the Marine Corps, and I
Oh,
pitched in. And that's what did it is they saw this opportunity and they reached back to me and they were like, "I want you here." And they
see?
literally, my life took a major skew just because of that.
Wow. You see? That's
Because I
awesome.
because I didn't get comfortable and just sit on my rump.
Exactly. No, and that's it. You went out there and you made an impression, right? And you stayed in their mind.
Mhm. Yep.
Definitely.
And and I mean it's another fundamental, probably a different topic, but nobody ever succeeds by themselves.
True. Very true.
And relationships matter that much.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
that necessary, and I myself have just recently learned like I can't do everything. I like to think I can, but I can't. And that's when the
Yeah,
reality hits.
we all
No,
do.
it's
Yeah. It
reality.
boosts the ego.
You try to do everything until you realize, wait a minute, I really can't. And then you realize, you know what?
Yeah.
I need people, right?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
but you got to take care of the people, right? Same thing. So,
Yep.
I agree.
Exactly.
Yes.
And then, and from another aspect of health, I mean, I like to talk about the physical health.
Yes.
So at one point, I used to have this big lazy boy recliner behind my
Hmm.
desk. And when I was in, those long meetings or those all hand meetings or,
Oh, yeah.
the meetings I didn't have to drive, but I had to
Right.
attend for some reason, I would hang out in that chair and just watch it like I was watching TV,
Right.
And what I found out was, or I started gaining weight big time, and I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa,
Yeah, they
and
will
then
catch up.
next thing you know,
Yep.
the heart starts to flutter. Yeah, exactly, that physical toll, and
Hmm.
that's when it really drained, really drilled into my head that comfort kills.
Yes.
And so, long story short, I replaced my recliner with a desk treadmill.
Oh,
So
lovely.
when I'm on those meetings, yeah, I jump on my treadmill and I get some steps in.
That's great. I've been seeing a lot more of that at different companies.
Mhm,
They've got the standing desk,
mhm.
they've got the treadmills, they've got different things to get away from just sitting around. So, yeah, no, it's
Yep.
true. Very true.
Yep.
So,
And then
go
mhm.
ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, so you're still using the treadmill now, correct?
Oh yeah. As a matter of
See.
fact, one of the things that I used to do, I used to be so focused on doing work that it
Hmm.
was like between the couch to watch TV and my office to do work, that was
Right.
almost all I did.
Yeah.
And yeah, so to
That's a
expand that,
normal. I would think that was very normal with people, right? You have to push
yeah, it
yourself.
was for a while.
Yes, you have to push yourself out of that, like you did, to get to the
Yep.
next level, or else, again,
Yep.
comfort can kill, right? And that's
Yep.
exactly what you're doing now. It's great. You already started to change the whole perspective of it. That's great.
Yep. It gets even better. So eventually I got to the point where I made sure that I did not just sit behind a desk or on a couch. So now
Right.
I literally walk like 4 to 6 miles almost every day.
Wow. That's wonderful. See, what a difference, right? So here's a question for you. So
Yep.
now, do you kind of automatically catch yourself the minute you start to feel comfortable that wait, I gotta change something.
It's yeah, yeah, it's one of those things where you're kind of driving by Braille, where you're in the lane and everything's going great, and
Right.
occasionally you'll hear that "brah" sound,
Yes.
and you got to get
Yes.
back on track. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
But
So
I've lost like 50 pounds of weight just by
that's
walking.
see? And people think it has to be all these other things that you
Mhm.
have to do. And it could be the simplest change that affects everything, right?
It doesn't it doesn't
Yeah.
have to hurt. You don't have
No?
to grab your gut. You don't have to be out of breath. You just move.
Exactly. It's all about moving. Just keep moving forward in any direction
Hmm.
that you can and just change just little habits. That's it.
Hmm.
And you'll see that change does occur.
Yeah.
Yes. So what are some other
Yep.
things that you've
And I mean
been
that even
learning?
applies to financial health.
Oh, yes. So give us some examples
Yeah,
for
like
that.
financial health.
Yes.
So yeah, sure. So, a lot of times one of the things that I used to do was I'd get comfortable in my job.
Hmm.
I go out, hit the bricks, get a good job, and I'd get comfortable with it. Got the paycheck rolling in. I know what to do. I know how to do it. I just keep doing it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, basically something would change. Like I
Hmm.
could get comfortable that the boss loves me and would never let me go. And then I
Yep.
get a new boss, you know, and
Exactly. Right.
you don't want to be, yeah.
It's yes.
Or the job is doing really good and I'm really comfortable and I'm spending money and I'm buying dumb shit that I don't need. And then one
Yeah, a
day,
little bit of everybody does that. Yep.
Yep. And then the company
Yeah.
goes under. It's like, oh.
No, it's true.
So
It's
so that's one.
unpredictable.
Yeah. So I mean, I identified, okay, I got comfortable financially.
Hmm.
And so, I sat down, did the bills, figured out how much I need when it would go. And I divided my bills into two groups, and they're about the same amount each, every time I got paid, they got paid,
Yeah.
and the excess
Hmm.
would go somewhere useful.
Smart.
And, I started looking at investments and such.
Hmm.
And, you know, there's been a time where, I've lost my job, and it's been several months, and
Hmm.
because I bled, on the front end, I wasn't I
Right.
wasn't sinking so fast on the back end.
Right. But you know what? These are all the lessons that get learned along the way, right? And that's
Yes.
where learning from it so that the next time you don't get the same result. That's what's key. So that's where don't do what you're always
Right.
used to doing, right? You got to change it a little bit if you want a
Yep.
different outcome, right?
Hmm. Absolutely. And
Yes.
I mean, even in the workplace, in terms of success, you
Mm-hmm.
know, comfort kills. So,
Yes.
I mean, like for example, going back to relationships,
Mm-hmm.
I used to be the kind of guy that, if they had something outside of work and I wasn't getting paid to be there, I wasn't going to be there. My
Right.
comfort of going home and watching TV or something was killing my success in the workplace because, you build the relationships, you have those discussions, you learn what's coming down the pipe, you
Mm-hmm.
contribute to it, you help shape it to make sure it goes the right way and is actually successful.
Sure.
And the reason you do this is because, the definition of a company, the way I look at it, is it's a collection of people that are taking all of their skills and experience to combine it together. At Lehman Brothers,
Mm-hmm.
some department thought it was a great idea to take mortgage-backed securities that couldn't be tracked, lump them up into the financial shit offerings, and that they assumed the government would have to step in to fix it if anything went wrong. Because, like, basically, it comes down to one guy, one manager, one executive. Somebody blessed this
Oh
and
no.
said, "Yeah, let's do it. It's a great
That's
idea." Everybody
That's
lost
all
their
it
job.
takes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then what? Right?
but but yeah, yeah, it's like back to square one.
Yes. No, very
But
true.
it's that comfort that I believe they get comfortable making bad decisions,
Yes.
and one
And
day it bites you.
yeah, and they take for granted, not for nothing, but there could be a new person that gets hired who knows more, and you don't learn the new things, and guess what?
Mhm.
Your comfort now just made you behind, not ahead. Where before you might have been on top, but now you're behind. You're falling behind, right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I work in technology, and when I started,
Oh wow.
like I mentioned, I started at help desk, and then
Mm-hmm.
I realized, hey, I kind of like the servers. They're similar to the desktops, and they're more
Mm-hmm.
valuable. So I learned that skill.
Right.
Then I got to the network, and then I learned that's and yeah, remind me to circle back to that as a story. But then from networking, I got into cybersecurity, and then from cybersecurity, now I'm in artificial intelligence.
See, look at that.
But I had to learn those. I had to make sure that I didn't get comfortable at any one of those stages, and I
Yes.
had to stay relevant. I had to learn what was necessary. Like, for
Mm-hmm.
example, when cloud came out, I had to learn cloud.
Yeah.
I mean, and the bottom line is by pushing yourself, not getting comfortable with what you know. I'm sure that there's a guy out there that's still comfortable knowing mainframes. It's not me.
No, it's true. You've got the one who's just
If
like,
they
this
ever
is
shut
it.
off
I'm
that
really good
mainframe,
at
he's
it. Yeah. Yeah, I think too, part of it is
the
they're so
last
good
guy
at
that knows how to keep that machine running. Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
People, like you said, they're
Yeah.
comfortable, they're
So
good
that
at
that's
it, they
another one. So
know
when I was
it.
at Coca-Cola,
Hmm. Go ahead.
oh, here's another one for you. So at Coca-Cola, these executives in the commercial world usually do just about anything that they have to do, whether they should
Hmm.
or shouldn't, they do it
Right.
to try to make the fourth quarter numbers look good for Wall Street. So they
Right.
do some, they get comfortable.
Interesting
They're
things.
very
Yeah.
comfortable doing anything that they feel
Right.
they need to do.
Of course.
So there was this one guy that was over in Europe in their major hub in Brussels.
Okay.
And because he was a contractor, they kept letting him go because they kept letting go all the contractors to try to
Yeah.
make the numbers look good before the end of the
Right.
quarter. The problem was he was the only person that knew how to make that stuff work. So after the
Yep,
new
that's
year,
what
they'd have some
happens.
issue they couldn't solve. And yeah, by the time, let's see here, by the time we parted ways, I finally left the yo-yo.
Right.
And he had been pulled back like at least 4 times. And when I left, he was making 4 times what I was.
You see?
Yeah, because every time that they pulled him back, he made them pretty much give him
He was
another
smart, I'm
like
sure. He was like,
70.
I'll come back, just give me a little more, right? I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. See? He was smart.
But yep. And then let's see here. So going back to one of those other stories. So
Yes.
this one engineer, he was comfortable not following change control processes at all. And they
Okay.
they hooked up his, year-end bonus to achievement.
Oh,
And
okay.
the for some reason the managers were comfortable just letting him do whatever. And
Yeah.
we had 4 major networks that all his goal was to merge them before the end of the year.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you some things that are technical. I'm going to try to describe it to make it understandable. So, ask me questions if you're not tracking what I'm telling you.
Sure.
So computers, when they talk to each other, they use something called an IP address.
Yes.
An IP address is kind of like a phone number, but
Mm-hmm.
in the computer world, there's what we call private IP space. And what that
Okay.
is that's, IP addresses, a cluster of IP addresses that you can use internal to your network that are never
Mm-hmm.
supposed to transmit outside of your network.
Okay.
Everybody can use it. So you might have 50 companies out there that have a same 10.10.10.1 address inside of
Okay.
their network. But because that traffic never leaves their network, it doesn't confuse anybody else's implementation.
Okay.
So kind of like having 2 phone numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, each company used that private IP space. Well, this guy decided there's one core router on one network and one core router on the other network. And
Oh
what he
no.
did was he just connected the two and said, well, they'll hash it out.
Oh
Well,
no.
because there were duplicates,
Right.
the network never figured out how to get the traffic to the right places. So he basically brought down the whole daggum network.
My
Well, at
goodness.
that time, one of our biggest customers was the FCC, uh, the FCC's airport infrastructure, and the
Oh
um,
no.
or not the FCC, the FAA. Yeah,
Okay.
the FAA had a rule that said a pilot couldn't leave a gate unless he had a weather report that was not more than 2 minutes old.
Oh
So
no.
with that internet down, no planes could leave the gate
Nobody.
according to the FAA regulations,
Oh my
including
goodness.
Air Force One that had George W. Bush on it at LAX for
Wow.
8 hours.
Wow. Yeah, so that was a big problem.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
because comfort kills. They were
Yes.
comfortable
See?
making bad decisions.
Exactly. So you can't take anything for
Mhm.
granted. And I would say if you're starting to get comfortable, it's time to ask yourself, uh-oh, what am I supposed to be doing? Right? If you're comfortable, something's wrong,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah,
So,
well, if you're comfortable with my finances going out because I know exactly what bills I'm paying, when I'm
mhm,
paying them. The money is there. I've even got a cushion. In
yeah,
terms of my schedule, I've got an organizer. It's on
right.
paper. And the
Hmm.
reason it's on paper is because no virus can delete it.
Smart.
So, I would say that some comfort is, is good.
Yes.
But,
I actually, yeah.
just what kills the most.
I was actually going to tell you, I'm like, I think there might be a like
But
a balance to it, right? Like you can't always be comfortable, but some comfort is
yeah,
okay, right? Like a baseline, right?
right. But like, I've got a son-in-law and he's trying to grow up
Hmm.
and he gets a job and what does he want? He wants to be comfortable. He wants to like get the money but not work for it.
Yeah. Well, I
And
mean, that's a
so,
lot of
you
people.
know, I think it's we sort of start out in life, yeah, but we sort of start out in life seeking comfort. But
Yes.
my suggestion is that comfort kills.
Yes. No, definitely.
So, like,
It,
for example, in terms of how it affects your dreams,
mhm.
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, comfort stops you from growing in general, right? Like, you can't go forward in any direction if
Exactly.
you don't move, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the
Yeah.
way I look at it. Yeah. Um,
Yes.
I mean, in terms of your dreams, I
Hmm.
mean, people, sometimes confuse comfort with freedom, but freedom
Yes.
really isn't the acquisition of comfort.
Hmm.
Freedom is the acquisition of choices, which
Yes.
the consequences or the benefits of which are all yours.
Yeah. This is very true. Very true. There's no guarantee which direction it's gonna go, just that you have the freedom to do it. Right?
Right. And yeah, and I try to teach my children, there's a lion out in the field. He doesn't know where his next meal's coming from. He
True.
might be attacked by some other predator, maybe some, lion hunter guy, who knows.
Right.
Um, it could rain on him. He might catch a
Hmm.
cold. He might get
Yeah,
sick, but
exactly.
that's what freedom is. Self-reliance.
Yes.
Now, the lion that's in the zoo has free health care, doesn't have to worry about his meals.
True.
And if it gets too
Very
cold, he'll
true.
be brought in.
Yeah. Very good example. And he's comfortable, but is he really living? True. You know what I mean? Like not
Right,
free. Yes. No, very true.
right.
So what are some
Um,
things that you would recommend to people to stop that comfort zone?
well, I mean, as a Marine, I kind of tackle things head on.
Hmm.
I hit it hard.
Okay.
And I do that in just about everything. Like, for example, if I work at a company and some manager produces a stupid rule, he's obviously comfortable creating stupid rules. So the first thing I do is break it. So,
Ah, you're
oh,
one of
this is
those,
what you
right?
said you wanted? Yeah, this is what you said you wanted? No problem. Let me give that to you. Because I know that as soon as I break it, I just broke
Oh,
his comfort zone. So now,
yes.
it's going to it usually gets visibility by other managers who weigh in and say, wait a minute, dummy, why are you doing this? you know,
Correct. No, true.
and it gets challenged.
Yes.
But then, on the other side of that, if I'm proposing an idea, right, and somebody starts challenging my idea, I love that. I mean,
Yeah.
most people feel uncomfortable, but I love it because the more you challenge my idea, either the stronger I can make it,
Yes.
or maybe I find out that it's not worth the time, trouble, and effort to put into it anymore, and I can move on to the next thing.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
there are a lot of people, decision makers out there that don't think that way. They take it personal. It's like,
Yeah.
I might as well have walked in and said, you know what? Your baby's ugly. That's how they react.
No, it's true because they're comfortable. They think they know what they know. But unless you're willing to take that criticism or that challenge, you can't grow any further than where you are, right?
Exactly. And
Yes.
one of the things that I've seen, is where managers, instead of fixing the problem or openly working on it, they'll hide it.
Mm. Oh, yeah. It just causes more issues. And the thing is, people see it. They didn't hide it at all, you know?
And no, but obviously they are now too comfortable.
Yes. Yes. It's very true.
Yes.
So what would you recommend to somebody who is afraid to step out of the comfort zone? Sometimes it's fear of the unknown. They don't know what's about to happen. But they
Yeah,
know
it
that
does
they're
tie
safe,
closely into fear.
right?
So
It's
the
the
what I
safety
teach my
thing.
children is I yes, yeah, well, safety's an illusion.
True. Not
But
very
the way that I
true.
teach it to my children are I tell them I tell them that fear, never let fear dictate what you do or don't do.
Yes.
And one of the things that I try to tell them is like, being a Marine, I put it in military terms, right? Have you ever seen movies where you've got, platoons out there of people fighting and it's raining artillery shells, right? I mean,
Hmm.
imagine that in a movie. You're
Right.
sitting in, you're in a platoon is all around you and artillery shells are coming in. How do you know that the next place you step to is going to be just as safe as the one you just left?
True. True. You don't.
You may run 10 steps to the left and right there in your lap lands an artillery shell.
Yeah. No, it's true.
You don't know.
You really don't know. So you just have
One
to
spot
trust
is just
yourself,
as good as
right?
another at that point. Yeah. Yeah.
It becomes on
But I mean,
self-reliance
the
and
more that
trust in yourself.
the more that fear drives you, I tell my kids it's like a gravity. If
Hmm.
you're afraid of falling off a ladder, the more
There'll
you
be
think
ladders
about that
everywhere.
fear, the more likely you are going to fall off that ladder.
Yeah, no, it's true. You kind of set yourself up, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And so, I try to teach my kids not to let fear dictate what they do or that they don't do. And another thing I talk about is like, in the Marine Corps, they have these obstacle courses. And
Hmm.
I don't know what it's like for the tall people, but I was short. So being short and on the obstacle course, one of the things that I learned was
Hmm.
if you had any hesitation, if you doubted that you were going to make it in any
Then
way,
you wouldn't.
if you held back just a little bit, you didn't make it.
Makes sense. No, it's true. You have to believe in yourself and just go for it, right?
Right. Right. But it's like, you have to tackle the world or it'll tackle you.
Yes.
And when you get comfortable, you're setting yourself up to be tackled.
It's true. The world doesn't stop and it keeps on going. And unless you keep up with it and start learning all the different things that are happening and changing, learn to adapt, or else
Mhm.
you're not going to fit in for the new changes that just occurred. Do you think change is the same thing as
Exactly. You need to
adapting?
make sure that you are relevant tomorrow.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, for example, a long time ago, they used to have people walking around offices handing out pieces of paper called memos.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Those people still exist. They're alive. They're just
Yeah.
doing something different today rather than walk a cart around an office and hand out pieces of paper because
Correct.
we've got email now
Yeah.
or chat programs. They're
Yes.
contributing in some new way. Question is, did they get to choose how they contribute in that new way, or was it chosen for them?
True. Very true. And not only that, that's another thing where when you talk about changing, some people stay in the same job for the longest time instead of challenging themselves
Mhm.
to go outside and do something different. True?
Yep.
And
Yep. They
so,
get comfortable.
because exactly. Even in a job they don't like, they can hate it. They go there every day, and it's simply, again, get that
Hmm.
paycheck and go home. Meanwhile, they're miserable,
Hmm.
that they don't like what they do, and then they take it out on everybody else, right? Usually.
Yeah. Or they don't like it, but they just, you know, the term that I've heard is the devil you know. And it's better
Yes,
to deal with the
yes.
devil you know than the one you don't know. And that's
True.
that's a statement of fear right there. They're afraid of what's over the horizon.
Yes. But like you mentioned before, you don't know if you're going to get a new boss, so you may end up having it walk in your door. Whether you leave or not, it may come
Yes.
to you, right?
Yeah. Yep. And if you get out of your comfort zone today and
Hmm.
determine your path for tomorrow, when it arrives, you'll be there. You'll be right in
Yes.
the right spot with the right skills, with the right relationships to capitalize on that.
Yeah. And I think that's where they talk about like get ready. Opportunities don't just show up. You end up building
Right.
to it and then they appear. So people think they're just going to appear. That's not how it works. You got to work toward it. Would you agree?
Well, I think that sometimes people mistake how to spend time versus money. It's
Yeah,
like they
okay.
believe that you spend time like you do money, where when you need it, you just throw $1,000 down, or
Right.
you need to be trained. So, here's a 10-hour course.
Yeah.
But the trick is with time, you have to have paid your dues before the bill comes in, not after.
Very true. No, it's so true. And those people who continue their education or taking different courses, learning anything new, are the ones that are going to be ahead. So, I where I work, a lot of people had to go get their master's degree in nursing, and they had bachelors. So
Mhm,
they started it, where everybody else was just waiting to see if
mhm,
they can just hang in there a little bit longer, right? Then all those finished and they were all
mhm,
promoted to
mhm.
directors and managers and things like that. And the other ones, they actually weren't able to qualify. And it was because they were waiting instead of
Yep.
start the process, just go through it. So yeah, no, it's ever
Well,
changing and you have to keep up with it.
but I mean, in that ever-changing landscape you just painted in the educational sector. So,
Hmm.
do you know where universities started?
Where? Jail? Wasn't it
So
jail?
they started over, no, it was over in England.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Henry V, when he was engaging in battle,
Okay.
you've heard the St. Crispin's Day speech.
Yes.
Okay. So when that really happened, one of the things that he promised those soldiers was that if they lived, that he would make available to them the knowledge of the nobles. And that was the creation of the university system. And
Ah,
then through
okay.
history, there was a big, struggle between those that were of noble blood versus
Right.
the other people who went through a university. It was, I come from a
Okay.
big family that's noble versus, where did you come from? A law school for 4 to 6
Right.
years. And when you look at Henry VIII, like Cromwell, he had a hard
Mhm.
time historically managing. And it was mainly because the nobles hated his guts. But he
Ah,
was a lawyer educated at a university. So
okay.
he had the knowledge that they had, just not the
Uh,
pedigree.
Okay.
Well, over time, I mean, with comfort killing and people getting used to, oh, yeah, you just go to college. I mean, when I
Right.
was growing up, I was told go to college and you'll always have a job.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
IBM laid off 60,000 workers, white collared
Yes.
workers. There was
Yeah.
no longer, security in having that degree. But
Correct.
then you fast forward to today, and these higher ed institutions of learning, they're not unlocking the knowledge of the nobles,
No,
the,
they're
the, the
not.
degrees and information. Exactly. But
Yes.
you
So,
see, comfort kills.
yes. Well, definitely. Times have changed drastically, but some things
Mhm,
remain, right? And that's the thing
mhm,
where again, it's adapting, seeing what can you do with what is out there. True.
mhm. Very true. Yes.
Yes. So,
But
um,
but yeah, that's my fundamental philosophy, and that's how I apply it in what I'm doing. And I think it. Yep. So so that's one of my core fundamental philosophies that served me very well in my journey in life. And I mean, I apply it in so many different ways, but it I mean, it literally can apply to just about everything. I mean, in terms of
Definitely.
health, we covered, relationships, especially those with your family, how this could, deteriorate those, how
Yes.
relationships, if you put the effort into them, they can help you.
Yes.
Your physical health, it takes effort and time. You cannot get comfortable on a couch and expect to go the long term. In
Definitely.
terms of financial, being comfortable with what you have, today, um, if you get too comfortable, that could impact you negatively tomorrow. If you don't, become proactive.
Yes.
Um, in terms of success, if you get comfortable in the office, then you get comfortable not being in the spotlight, then you may end up on the short list the next time there's a cutback.
Yeah.
Or, by not contributing enough to the success of the group as a whole, maybe everybody goes under.
Yeah.
Um, the acceptance of having your ideas challenged, staying out of your comfort zone there so that, overall as a team, you put your best ideas forward. You bring your A game.
Yes.
Um, in terms of, knowledge, managing your knowledge, making sure that what you know is always relevant, especially for tomorrow, and
Yes.
that the contributions you're making are genuinely valuable. Not getting comfortable with, the current management and what they're doing, but, making sure that you stay ahead of the game. And then ultimately in your dreams, you want to make sure that, you're putting yourself in a position to have your personal freedom maximized in the future. And that means achievement. You cannot just get by, and succeed at the same time. Your dreams are going to require that you go above what is there today in terms of you, what you have, and especially what you've done. And that takes effort and time and planning to, get those achievements that put you on the opportunity to take advantage of future possibilities when they arrive. You got to pay your dues today so that tomorrow, when that opportunity presents itself, you're right there in the right spot, the right time. And to
Exactly.
everybody else, it almost looks like just luck, but it's
Yeah.
really not. Yeah, it's
They don't realize
um
all that
and
time you've
then,
been preparing.
yes, exactly. And we
Hmm.
had an expression in the Marine Corps, and it was the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. And
Ah,
that's the same, fundamental of comfort is,
yes.
if you get comfortable, you're selling yourself short ultimately. Comfort will kill your dreams, your success, your relationships, your health. So, proactively grabbing onto it and pushing things in the direction that's best for you prevents you from getting pushed into a direction that's best for someone else.
True. So true. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing this information with us today. I'm sure a lot of people right now are going to realize, you know what, maybe I am getting comfortable. And hopefully they realize it's time to make a change, right? And I
I
think
hope
that
so.
yeah, I think you've given them some wise words to think about. And I look forward to more things that you can share with us because I'm sure that this is not the only topic that you are wise about. So, again,
Well,
thank you
that
so
sounds
much for
good.
being
Perhaps in the
here.
future we'll have other conversations. I appreciate
Definitely.
it. Thank you.
Thank you.